everybody, it's Kendell Lenice and welcome to Reviews and News. Today's review is about First Wives Club on BET Plus. Season 2 premiered January the 15th and all episodes are available on BET Plus. This amazing show was brought to us by Tracy Oliver. She's a creator, producer, director. She just signed a gazillion-dollar deal with Apple. So a Black woman doing her thing. All right, so I'm going to review season 2 of First Wives Club. Now, if you haven't caught up and saw season 1, I saw that when it first came out, I guess a couple years ago. I saw the whole season 2 or 3 times. It was a great show, great episode. So I'm so glad that BET Plus bought it back. All right, so First Wives Club is a spin on the movie The First Wives Club with Bette Midler and Diane, I can't even think of her name right now, and Goldie Hawn. Diane, it'll come to me. But 3 white women who were the first wives of their husbands, and they thought that they were going to leave, and some did for younger women, so they banded together as friends to be the First Wives Club. Now, I understand the First Wives Club because I'm part of the First Wives Club, so I totally get that, so I ride for that. But I remember seeing that movie in the movie theater, and now this is with Black women. Jill Scott as Hazel, Michelle Buteau, I want to make sure I say it correctly, as BREE, and Ryan Michelle Bethay as Ari. So these are the 3 women. They met in college in First Wives Club. So they're all married in season 1. And Jill Scott was married to Malik Yoba's character. So she now in season 2. You have to see season 1 to find out why they're not together. But so she's not married in season 2. And Ryan, so let me just say BREE and Gary, and I'll tell you who Gary is, but they're married. They had complications in their marriage in season 1, and they were separated, but they managed to pull it together. So this is going to be a spoiler alert, I'm going to tell you right now. So, and then we have David and Ari, which is Ryan Michelle Bethay and what's his name? I want to make sure, Mark Tallman, who plays David Montgomery. So they had challenges also, but they pulled through with their marriage. Now fast forward to season 2. So season 2, Hazel is back, BREE is back, and Ari are back with season 2 of First Wives Club. So that's Jill Scott, Michelle Buteau, and Buteau, I want to make sure I say that name right, Buteau, and Ryan Michelle Bethay, who plays Ari. So they're 3 friends, they're back. But they're not just back. We have a newcomer to the girl group, and that's Jayla, character Jayla. She's played by Michelle Michinor. And she's a great addition. At first, I'm like this when it comes to shows. I'm like, okay, I don't want to see no new people infiltrating when we just got used to these, but she fits right in. So basically in season 2, Ari goes to California to build her another law firm. She's a lawyer and her husband is a lawyer who just got elected senator. So she goes to LA to, I guess, work out her business out there and decides to open a business, and she gets zen and drinking green juice and yoga and trying to find herself. So she's out there where she leaves her husband behind in Albany, New York. All the other ladies are in New York City. He's in Albany, right? So you have Jayla, who is a friend of hers who is younger, that she takes sense to her old law firm in New York. Like, hey, I'm going to LA, but I have this wonderful woman, Jayla, bad attorney, she's coming. So now she infiltrates the friend group because her other friends, Ari's other friends, BREE and Hazel, know her, but they were okay with her. They weren't tight. So now she's in New York. So now she becomes that third friend while Ari is in LA. I'm not sure why they decided to do that, because sometimes when people leave the show, uh, and then they add another character, but for some reason they have Ari in LA. I'm not sure why they did that. And later we find out, to have that spice in their marriage and not so spice in their marriage. So I'm not sure if that's why they did it, or Ryan Michelle only had a certain amount of hours that she could do, or maybe the money was funny, or maybe she had other things to do and she still wanted to be a part of the show, so they still kept her. But they show her frequently in LA, but just not with the girls. So maybe she was doing something in her own personal life where she couldn't be with everyone else, so she filmed her scenes differently. I'm not sure why they did that. But another addition to season 2 is singer, nobody's supposed to be here, Deborah Cox, as well as veteran actress Essence Atkins. So, of course, Jayla and Essence, they're the ones who interact. So the other ladies don't interact with Essence. So Essence is a self-made woman, and she gives her husband this title, and she has millions of dollars, and she's on stages, and she starts this company for people basically, I guess, to cheat on their spouse or to have some type of company. So she's on stage speaking, Essence Atkins, and she served divorce papers by her husband. So then she hires Jayla as her lawyer. So that's how they're intertwined. And her husband, black man, I've never seen him on anything. So Jayla is representing her in her divorce throughout the show. So Essence is, throughout season 2. And then there's another lawyer, which I'll talk about later, the husband's lawyer and Jayla, they have a thing going on, but I'll tell you about that in a moment. So let's start with, we can't forget about the fellas. Ronrico Lee from Sister Sister. Y'all know Ronrico, and he was in so many different For Your Love, and so many different shows. So y'all know Ronrico Lee. He plays Gary, which is BREE's husband, and BREE is played by Michelle Buteau. And then we have Mark Tallman. He's actually great in his role as David Montgomery, who is married to Ari. So those are the men in there. And then of course we have guest stars as men that come throughout, and newcomer, and we've seen him on, I can't remember where I've seen him, but Jordan Carlos, he plays Curtis, which is Hazel's assistant extraordinaire, and he is. All right, so let me just give you some background for those that haven't seen it. So I gave you the background on what was happening with Ari and David's marriage, and I gave you, they were college sweethearts, and they just couldn't find their sweet spot anymore, and it was more time for business and not for fun. So their marriage was on shaky ground in season 1, and they managed to pull it back together. And then Gary and BREE, same thing I told you, he cheated on her, and then they split, and they show them going through therapy throughout, and they ended up working it out. But Hazel was married to Malik Yoba's character in season 1, as I stated earlier. And of course, he was a cheater, pumpkin eater, and he was doing all kind of stuff trying to take her money. She was a singer. Jill Scott was a singer and a big singer, and he was her manager, and she got older, as many women do in their 40s, and was considered washed up, and he got a new young chick as his artist and his side piece. Y'all know how that goes, and pushed her out, and he took everything she had, because everything was in her name, that she had to rebuild herself and her brand and all of that. So at the end of season 1, she made it through, and she decided to start a record label called Ladies First for women, obviously going through different things like that. So it picks up in season 2 with Ladies First. And she comes back from Jamaica as Stella with a sweet young thing, this Jamaican guy. So there's a joke running through that, and how young is he and how old am I? But they seem to be in love, and at first everyone's like, this is just a thing. But later we find out that it's really love. So she has that, and she also has Lady First. We're talking about Hazel, Jill Scott's character. And this is going to be, because I'm not taking you, typically a review is episode to episode, but I'm reviewing season 2. I'm not going to make it too long, but I just want to inspire you to watch it. Let me know what you think. But Hazel, I don't want to keep saying Hazel is Jill Scott and all that, so I'm just going to go by the characters now. So Jill Scott has Lady First records, and it's under a bigger umbrella, as many independent record labels are, or subsidiaries of the main record label. And they're like, okay, you got to find somebody. And they're giving her these singers who can't sing, but they look young and hot. Y'all already know how that goes. And she's like, no, I want something with substance. I'm not going to just sign someone who can't sing just because they're young and beautiful. Clearly, that's not like the regular record business. So then they go to a spot. They go to a Jamaican party for Hazel's boyfriend's sister. And at this Jamaican party, the singer is singing, which is Deborah Cox. So Deborah Cox, of course, she doesn't play Deborah Cox on here. So her character, Regina, I believe it is singing, and Hazel's like, oh, I found my artist, because her record label was saying, look, you got to find an artist or we're not going to give you this deal anymore. So she's trying to find an artist, and the heavens open up, and then Deborah Cox is up there singing in her bohemian looking outfit. And she's like, okay, yes. So then it comes back on. Apparently, these women have history. They were in a group before. They didn't get along. It was an issue or a problem. As soon as she sees Hazel, she's like, okay, I remember this, that, and the other. So, of course, that idea goes out the window. And then later, as it progresses, she says, okay. So after the back and forth and the cattiness, and you're not knowing what's going to happen, they finally get together and say, okay, well, I want to sign you. You're talented. I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry for that. You know, what happened in the past happened in the past. Let's move through it. Jill Scott Hazel was willing to go through with it, but Regina, Deborah Cox, was still like salty about it. So they make it work, and then finally bring it to the label heads that are above Ladies First. And they're like, no, we want the little young thing. We don't want this old broad. She's too old. We already got one old person, and that's you, Hazel. We don't need another one. And of course, that's insulting anywhere if you're 40 or older. So she doesn't have enough heart to tell Regina that he doesn't want to sign her. So she goes to try to record, and then the record label finds out that she still wants this person. So she's like, okay, well, I can't do it. So she finally says, let me tell her. And when she tells her, she's like, what? So then she comes up with this idea, which I'll tell you a little later in this review, of what to do with these old broads and what I'm going to do with that. So I'm going to leave Hazel there for now, and then I'm going to move on to BREE. So BREE is a doctor. She was a doctor in season 1, but now they really want to showcase her at the hospital. So when she gets to the hospital, Gary Jordan, y'all know, Shazza from A Different World and on everything else he's in. So now he is her administrator. So of course, you know, the fans start blowing, and the trumpets start playing, and she's like, oh, okay, like he's cute, or, you know, she's looking. And remember, they already have a rocky marriage, her and Gary. But BREE that's Michelle Buteau. So she sees him, and he wants her to be a chair or chief of surgeon in the hospital. So this is how he approaches her. Like, I love what you do. It's not many black women, not many women, period, women of color. I want you to apply for this position. And she's like, no, I'm just getting my marriage on stable ground. I'm not sure that's going to take a lot of hours, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, she's looking at him like, ooh, I can't even, that means I would spend more time with you, and that's going to be a problem in my marriage. So she thinks about it. She talks to her husband about it, and they're saying, okay, well, maybe you should do it. So she goes to pursue it, to do it. Meanwhile, Gary, Ron Rico, he is trying to figure it out. He was a writer, and now he's just been a house husband, taking care of their 2 children, boy and a girl, and trying to figure it out. And she's like, oh, you should get your writing back. And he decides, okay, I'm finally going to write this book, and I'm finally going to do this. And she encourages him to get a nanny. So when she gets the nanny, she's like, okay, they got to look like Miss Doubtfire. We ain't having no pretty young thing up in here. But she's not focused on the man. So then he interviews all of these people and then ends up hiring this man. But unbeknownst to him, while they were separated, he was a bartender at a club, and he slept with BREE. But BREE comes in like, and then of course she sees something different than sitting there, and then she realizes it's him. But because he's such a good nanny, she doesn't tell Gary. Then she finally tells Gary, and of course he's gone. And then Terry Vaughn makes a couple of appearances as his sister Pam in the show, Terry J. Vaughn. So that's what's happening with BREE. And then you see throughout back and forth with the Gary Gordon and her husband, and she doesn't tell him. And he's like, and now when she interviews for the chief of surgery position and decides to pull away after she's a shoe-in to get it, and Gary tells her, Gary Gary is her husband, but Gary Dordan's character kind of tells her that she's going to get the role or the position as chief of surgeon. But then she says she doesn't want to do it, and her husband is like, well, why? But she doesn't want to tell her husband it's because I'm lusting after this other guy, and it's not going to be a good look for our marriage if I take this position. So she passes on the position, and I'll table that and tell you what happens with BREE. So then we have Ari, and I told you about Ari, and she's in LA, and her husband is the senator and still here. Well, what I didn't tell you is that this little chubby girl named Vanessa that they knew back in the day has now grown up to be this beautiful Black woman who is younger and now his assistant. So remember, the wife is in LA, this young assistant is here, and she's always with her husband, and they're FaceTiming, and sometimes they're not, connecting. And she's like, okay, what's going on? That she sees Vanessa come in with her little outfits and her cuteness and her youngness. So she's thinking, okay, something is up. But they kind of make it seem like Jayla, they all go to this karaoke. Jayla, remember that's the new lawyer, Jayla, BREE, and the husbands, and Hazel. So they almost make it like David, which is Ari's husband, is going to connect with Jayla. It almost makes it seem like, okay, don't have another, like now she's part of the couple, and now she's chilling with Ari's husband, and Ari's not here, and that's her friend, and that's not a good look. You already get pumped up. You're like, okay, well, what's going to happen with that? Is she going to be messing with her friend after the friend got her the job at the law firm? Is she going to be messing with her? That's what you think at first. But it's not Jayla. It turns it to be Vanessa, which is the young assistant. So of course, that's not a good look. You got this married man hanging with this young woman, and she's always at the house, always with the husband, always out to eat. The press, remember, he's a senator, taking pictures, and the wife is not there, but she is. So that already is not a good look. So Ari, he's supposed to come to LA to see his wife. He never shows. She got the little thong she got all ready because their relationship was already strained, and he never shows. So she FaceTimes him and like, where are you? He's still in New York and not in LA. Then later he says, well, he saw an accident and he had to do a report and talk to the police, so he wasn't able to come. He lost track of time. Later, she sees a picture of him and Vanessa, and she's like, okay, well, wait a minute. That's why you ain't come to LA, because you were having dinner with her? He was like, no, it was lunch. She upset and blah, 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 blah. So then it looks suspicious the whole time. So of course the friends get a wind of it and like, like any friend will do, like, hold up. Jayla, BREE, and Hazel were like, well, wait a minute. We're going to see if this man is cheating. So Hazel recruits her ex-stepdaughter, which in season 1, she was on her side even when she was married to Malik Yoba, and he was doing all this, that, and the third. So she incorporates her. So then they go on this first wives excursion. And if you see the movie back in the day, you know that they wear their black and they go in trying to investigate the other people's husbands and trying to find out what's going on with them. So they did that. So if you've never seen the movie, then you don't see the correlation in that part. They even played the song too that they always play. You don't know me. Now, if you know the movie, then you know the song, and they had a different version of it, and it was a fly version. I was like, okay, y'all, I see how you're trying to, put them together. And if you're a certain age, you've seen the original movie. So they go into David's house and they like, we got to find some clues. Why, is he always with Vanessa? Is he cheating with her? They found some shea moisture they found, but he's bald. They're like, wait a minute, this is it, because he's bald, and they found some shea moisture hair moisturizer. So they're going through that. And then as they're investigating in David's apartment in Albany, so they leave from New York City to go to Albany, upstate, and then Vanessa comes in kissing somebody. So they're thinking like, okay, well, wait a minute, well, what's going on? Of course, it's not David, but they're thinking it is. And then she pops up. So then now they tell her, okay, are you cheating? Or ask her and grill her. That scene is pretty funny. It reminds me of Martin when he was trying to be New Jack City and grilling them with the dog, the whole crew. That's how they were grilling Vanessa. And then they were answering the questions, find out that she's not really cheating with him. She has a boyfriend. She's been using his apartment and she knows how it looks and all this other stuff. So then they're like, okay, they're doing all of this stuff, and then the computer catches on fire. So the computer catches on fire. So now they're like, okay, we got to make it look like a break-in. So it's just all these shenanigans trying to do that. And then later David finds out from Vanessa because she spills it on purpose or accident. That's how you know how it is when people get under pressure. They think when someone's like, I want to talk to you about something, and you are guilty, so you start spilling it. And he was like, I wasn't even talking about that. What you talking about? So then it comes out that they trashed the apartment and no one actually broke in. So I want to go back to, and I don't want to make this uber long, so I'm going to speed it up. So I want to go back to Hazel. So Hazel decides, okay, well, you don't want us old ones. I got a bright idea. So let me just go back. So Nigel is her boyfriend from Jamaica. So they have they're getting married. So they have the tasting over at the house. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all this. So Vanessa comes in while they're having the tasting. She wasn't invited, the assistant, the pretty assistant, and comes into Hazel's house, and all the Ari's friends are looking at her. If your girlfriend's husband's mistress came in or assistant came in and he's feeding her and stuff, and they looking like, wait a minute, is there another seat? No, not for you. Is there more food? No, not for you, because they're sticking up for their friend. So all throughout it makes it seem like he's messing with her. So they have this tasting to see what they're going to have at their wedding, and Nigel is Jamaican, like, there's no Jamaican food, there's nothing for me, like, you dictating everything. And she's older, so she's kind of running it. So he gets tired of being dismissed or not valued in that area, so he tries to leave her. And of course, her being Hazel and a superstar artist, Jill Scott, she's like, whatever, he's coming back. But then when she realizes he's not, then all her priorities shift, and you realize that they really were in love, and he was good for her, and she wants him to stay. I'll tell you what he did sweet after. All right, so with Hazel, she comes up with this idea, and I want you to see season 2, so I don't want to get every little nook away, but I want to entice you to watch it, hopefully. So Hazel says, okay, now this is a spoiler alert. This is the last episode, and it had me tearing up for so many different reasons. So she's like, okay, well, you don't want me as an older artist. You don't want Deborah Cox's character, Regina, older artist. Well, I have an idea. I'm going to bring a whole bunch of old broads. So guess who walks into Hazel's office? My favorite all-time singer, Shantae Moore as Shantae Moore, Kelly Price as Kelly Price, and Shanice Wilson, Flex's wife. Y'all know Shanice, they walk in. So now they're like, well, we're going to make a group. So think about that. Deborah Cox, Shantae Moore, Kelly Price and Shanice. Think about if that was really a thing. But the way it was so much sisterhood. You can feel it coming off the screen. And I literally had tears in my eyes, which sounds dramatic, but if you are a woman or you're a woman of a certain age and you're seeing this and you're all for sisterhood and riding, you're going to get a tear in your eye too. I put that on Twitter today and Deborah Cox retweeted it. But I also had a tear in my eye because I don't know if you all saw R&B divas remember Kelly Price and Shantae Moore. You remember Kelly Price got the Vaseline and the Timberlands and she wanted to fight her. And remember, Kelly Price is very close to Kenny Lattimore as friends. And remember that Shantae Moore is Kenny Lattimore's ex-wife, ex-husband. Y'all remember they were married. So all of that. And it's been known that they've had beef because Shantae Moore came out and said some things about Kenny Lattimore, her ex-husband, and Kelly Price didn't like it, or Kelly Price was jealous, or all of the drama on that years ago. I was glad to see them together. So it told me that they worked that out. So sometimes when sisters have that falling out, are you going to keep the grudge or are you going to work it out? And they were all wearing white. And at the end, they sang, itchy, itchy, yeah, 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 yeah. And just imagine those voices singing. And you know, Shanice was doing all her woo. And you know, Shantae Moore was hitting that high note. And Kelly Price was belting out as she does. And then Deborah Cox. So those are all singers. And Jill Scott's in the audience because you know she's Hazel. And she's dancing and all the women are dancing. It was a good sisterhood moment. So... and I'm going to wrap up with Hazel. So Hazel gets back with Nigel. She goes after him. Jayla's like, I thought you were a boss. You're just going to let him leave you? You know, JFK airport ain't that far. She was like, you're right. So it's raining and she gets in the Uber. Like, can you go faster? And she's trying to meet Nigel before he gets on the plane. And it was reminiscent of how Stella got her groove back. Y'all remember when she went after Winston, you know, in the rain to go find him, to bring him back, to tell him she loved him. It was like that. So then she's in the Uber and sees him. And because she goes to the apartment, his roommate or his cousin says, he went back. He, you know, went to JFK. So she's like, he left. I can't believe. So anyway, she goes to get him. And then she sees him in the car from the other car. She's like, Nigel. She goes out. It's raining. She has the umbrella. And he was like, I wasn't going back to Jamaica. I was dropping my aunt off. So then they're in the rain kissing and everybody's clapping that they get back together. So later, he's like, he said, I knew you would have helped me and I didn't want you to help me. I wanted to make a name for myself. So he brings her to this place and it's this food truck that he has. And you know how this food truck vibe, they have it outside with the lights, like it's really a nice look and ambiance. So guess what the restaurant's name is? Hazel's Favorite. And she's like, oh, my favorites, Hazel's Favorite. Can't talk today. Blah, blah, blah. And probably because I'm talking so fast, I don't want this video to be so long. All right, so that wraps him up, buttons him up. And I told you about everything that happened with Nigel, ladies first, all of that. So all of that's good. And her assistant the whole time, Curtis, who's played by Jordan Carlos, he's good as her assistant. You know, he's extra dramatic and all of that is good. So that's Hazel. So now we go to BREE. BREE has to go to a conference. She invites her husband to come because remember, she's in love with this doctor. She gets to or smitten with him, I won't say in love. So gets to this convention, which she asked her husband to go to. And her husband said no, because he got an interview with Essence magazine to write a piece on David, which is the senator, to pump up his writing career. So imagine that. You get back into your writing career, you do this piece on your friend's husband or your wife's friend's husband, your wife's husband's friend. And then you get to write this piece for Essence magazine. So that reincarnates your writing career and you get paid to do that. So he said he had to do that so he couldn't come on a convention with her. this medical convention. So she goes, and then of course when BREE gets there, she sees Gary Gourdin's character, and like, oh my goodness, and he's ignoring her because he's mad that she didn't take the position. So then she reveals, I didn't take the position because I was feeling something. I'm trying to work on my marriage. He was like, you know, you're not the only one who was feeling something. I've been feeling something for you the minute that I met you. And he leaves his room number. I was like, okay, you know, if you're feeling it too, if you want to come, I'm in this room number, you come. Why am I thinking it's 1214? You come up to 1214. So she's sitting there. So you see her fast forward in her room putting on lip gloss. And then she knocks on this door. I'm like, oh, she just got her marriage together. Is she going to meet him in this hotel room? No, 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 no. And then her husband, Gary, is there, and he romanticized the whole room, and he surprised her, and he came. So they're still together, and I was hoping that they wouldn't. I was like, come on, they can't be cheating again in season 2. So I was happy about that. So that's BREE. So then you have Ari. Ari is in LA, remember, and her friends are like, well, Jayla, when her husband walks into Jayla's office, the new attorney, and she's like, well, what do you expect? You're telling her that you're not cheating, you know, but you're not showing her. When's the last time you showed her that you loved her and wanted to be with her? Fast forward, he goes to LA finally, and he calls, gets out the car and like, come outside to Ari. And she comes outside and he's in LA. So they're able to work that out, and he's putting his marriage first, even though he's a senator, even though they're both lawyers and busy, he decided to drop everything to come to LA. So that was a little happy ending. So with Jayla, the new character, she wraps up her lawsuit with Essence Atkins' character. Remember, she's getting a divorce, and that's her big case to prove if she can be partner at this new firm that Ari referred her to. So she wins the case, and Essence gets the kids, and they're working it out. So of course her boss says, okay, now you know you're considered for, you're going to be a junior partner. So she wins that case. And remember, I told you the opposite opposing attorney that was representing Essence Atkins character's husband, they have a thing. And earlier on, she's like, you know, I like you after they had sex. I like you, but you know, I can't mix business with pleasure because you're representing you can feel the tension, you know, the sexual tension, you know how they do that, but you're representing her husband and I'm representing her, and it's not a good look. And he was like, I'll wait until it's over. So when it's over, you know, he's waiting for her, fast forward, and he's a white guy, but he's cute. That it kind of worked, you know, and they had the sexual tension. So you see them going off. So if season 3 comes, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I hope they get a season 3. So that's what happens with that in a nutshell. I don't want to make this too long, as I continue to keep saying, but this is the first time I reviewed this, so I wanted to give you a synopsis of season 2, because you know how it is with BET Plus, with certain streaming channels. They put the whole season out and let you binge watch it, and that's what I did. I would have watched it all in one sitting, but I started doing something and I watched some things with my daughters, but I watched it in 2 sittings, and it's good. And I think I'm going to watch season 2 all over again, because I've watched season 1 quite a few times, and I know my oldest daughter wants to watch it. So I was like, I'll watch it again. But that last scene, y'all, I was up watching it like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was crying. I was like, I gotta do a review on this really quickly. So I woke up and I was like, let me do a review real quick on First Wives Club. Terry Oliver, honey, you have a hit here. All of the women were amazing. And you know how sometimes season 1, which was still good, is good, but then season 2, they really get into their characters and they really play. But I will say hair and makeup was on point. Clothes was on point. Jayla, she was really giving the looks. The new lawyer, she was giving the hair, the natural hair, the pieces, the clothes. Jill Scott always gives that, season 1 and season 2. Michelle Buteau, they had her dressed down, and then when they dressed her up, she looked good. And Ari looked good also. She looked more refreshed than last year. And I don't know if that was purposeful because she was in LA now, she was getting her zen, but I still want to know why she went to LA, but she was still part of the show, but not, she didn't film anything with any of the characters until the last scene with her husband, David, who's played by Mark Tolman. I'm not sure why they did that, but if you were thinking about watching First Wives Club, definitely watch it, but watch season 1 first so you can see the setup and you can see how the women met and you can see the beginning. But I love that they refreshed this show. They didn't just keep it stale. They didn't keep just the same women with the same issues. They added new characters. They gave another look on certain things and spice, and added new women and new men. Everybody was beautiful to the mix, and I think it was a great move. I know it was a great move. And even Deborah Cox, and y'all know she's been on Broadway and acting in a number of things, so she was a great addition as well. But when I seen my girl Shantae Moore, Kelly Price, Shanice coming out, and they sang at the end, it was a treat. It was a good way to end the series. Talking about First Wives Club, check it out. Thank you so much for watching Reviews and News. This is Kendell Lenice. Until next time, God bless. Peace. Oh, and check out all the other reviews that I've done on my channel. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Boom. Take care, y'all. God bless.